This video is sponsored by Connell Guides. To get your hands on the most intelligent study guides on the market for GCSE and A-level English literature, as well as GCSE and A-level history, visit connellguides.com and use code RS15 at checkout for 15% off your order.
Just who are Lord and Lady Montague, and what can we say about them? Let's find out. How's it going, Revision Squad? It's me, Liam, aka Mr. Knight, aka DystopiaJunkie. And in this video, we're going to look at how Lord and Lady Montague are presented in William Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet. So to do that, we're going to do a handful of things. First of all, we are going to think about who Lord and Lady Montague are, what their roles in the play are, and what they might symbolise, represent, or be a metaphor for. After that, we are going to discuss a handful of quotations, looking at which impressions they give of the Montagues and how they create them. Finally, I will end this video with a big question for you to reflect upon, which I hope will help to consolidate your understanding of these characters. My hope here is to help you out as you study or revise Shakespeare's play. If I am successful in doing that, please do let me know by giving this video a like, writing a comment on it, sharing it around with anyone else who might find it useful, and subscribing to my channel if you haven't already. YouTube tells me that more than 3/4 of you who watch my videos aren't subscribed to my channel, and I'm currently aiming to reach 10,000 subscribers by the end of 2022. So if you're one of those people who watch my videos but are not subscribed, please do consider pressing that lovely red subscribe button. It helps me to help you and other learners out, and so it really is a win-win. Okay, with all of that out of the way, just who are Lord and Lady Montague, what are their story roles, and what might they represent? As characters, Lord and Lady Montague are the heads of the Montague family, and so they perhaps bear some responsibility for the continuation of the feud between their family and the Capulets. Their titles, Lord and Lady, imply that they are high status and possess a considerable deal of wealth. Importantly, they are Romeo's parents. Now, Lord and Lady Montague don't actually appear that much in Romeo and Juliet. Indeed, they're only present in 3 scenes, and so thinking about their story role is a bit tricky. Remember, when we talk about a character's story role, we're thinking about how a character helps to progress the plot or how they hinder it. So, I've been doing some thinking, and I reckon that you could say that Lord and Lady Montague fulfill an expositional role. We meet them early on in the play, and they help to establish not only the feud that exists between their family and the Capulets, but also the misery that consumes Romeo at the beginning of the play, something that we will discuss in greater detail in just a bit. In terms of what Lord and Lady Montague might symbolise, represent, or be a metaphor for, something that jumps out to me is that they provide another example of high status parents in the play, and so perhaps they offer another representation of authority. However, more interestingly, you could also argue that they contrast with Lord and Lady Capulet, high status parents who we see much more frequently in the play. By seeing how Lord and Lady Montague behave throughout the play, certain qualities of Lord and Lady Capulet become much more apparent. I hope that's given you a decent overview of who Lord and Lady Montague are, what their story role is, and what they might represent. Now, which quotations could we discuss if we wanted to analyse them a bit more deeply? So if we're going to analyse Lord and Lady Montague, a good place to start is the play's opening scene, seeing as it is one of the 3 places in which they actually appear. Upon seeing the mass brawl erupt and noticing that Lord Capulet wants to join in, Lord and Lady Montague share the following exchange. "Thou villain Capulet, hold me not, let me go. Thou shalt not stir on foot to seek a foe." These lines give us our first impressions of both Lord and Lady Montague. But what are those impressions? Lord Montague appears to be consumed by the feud. This is evident in how he uses the term villain, an insult in Shakespeare's time, to describe Lord Capulet, shouts his first line, which indicates a strong emotion, in this case hatred, and seems desperate for a fight when he tells his wife to "hold me not, let me go," with this part of the dialogue containing an implied stage direction that sees Lady Montague hold him back from the fray. Lady Montague, on the other hand, seems much more sensible. This is of course suggested by the stage direction implied by Lord Montague's dialogue, but so too is it suggested by her own dialogue. When she instructs her husband to "not stir 1 foot to seek a foe," she prevents him from mindlessly engaging in the brawl and potentially getting himself hurt. By presenting his male character as aggressive and his female character as far more sensible, Shakespeare creates the impression that violence is a characteristically male trait, an idea that reoccurs throughout his play. Furthermore, Lord and Lady Montague's reactions are virtually identical to Lord and Lady Capulet's reactions to the brawl, thus suggesting that the Capulets and Montagues are equally as bad as each other when it comes to the feud. Next up, let's consider how Lord and Lady Montague speak about Romeo, which reveals what they are like as parents. We're going to look at 2 quotations, each from Act 1, Scene 1, and those quotations are: "Oh, where is Romeo? Saw you him today? Right glad I am he was not at this fray. Could we but learn from whence his sorrows grow, we would as willingly give cure as know." In the first quotation, Lady Montague is presented as a concerned mother. In the first line of her quotation, her 2 questions reveal that she is worried about Romeo, revealing that she cares about him. Additionally, when she expresses that she is relieved that Romeo was not at the fray, her concern for her son is exemplified because she uses the adjective glad to describe how she feels that he was not at the battle and therefore was not putting his life at risk by taking part in a fight. Lord Montague is likewise presented as a concerned parent. When discussing Romeo's melancholic state, the cause of which he does not know, with Benvolio, he says that he would willingly give cure if he knew what was making Romeo sad. Here we get the impression that Lord Montague is a worried parent who wants nothing more than to make his son happy again, an impression that is particularly evoked by the adverb willingly. Overall then, Lord and Lady Montague seem like good, caring parents, which arguably makes them contrast significantly with their Capulet counterparts. Okay, let's leave Act 1 Scene 1 behind and instead turn our attention to Act 3 Scene 1, the next scene in which Lord Montague appears. After Prince Aeschylus asks who should pay the price for Mercutio's and Tybalt's deaths, Lord Montague responds, "Not Romeo, Prince, he was Mercutio's friend. His fault concludes but what the law should end, the life of Tybalt." So one interpretation of these lines is that they present Lord Montague as unfeeling. By saying that Romeo's fault concluded what the law should end, he's basically saying that Romeo's murder of Tybalt does not matter because Tybalt would have been executed for murdering Mercutio anyway. Such a blatant disregard for Tybalt's death, reducing it to a legal matter, makes Lord Montague appear unfeeling or cold, at least when it comes to the Capulets, his bitter enemies. Alternatively, you could argue that these lines see Lord Montague defend Romeo, thus suggesting that he is a supportive father. When Prince Aeschylus asks who should pay the price for Mercutio's and Tybalt's deaths, Lord Montague immediately claims, "Not Romeo, Prince," indicating that protecting Romeo is Lord Montague's primary concern. Indeed, by stating that Romeo was Mercutio's friend, Lord Montague further defends his son. Primarily, this is because it sees him justify Romeo's murder of Tybalt by suggesting that it was something that he did out of revenge for his friend's death, thus commenting on the importance of male friendships and male loyalty that characterised the patriarchal society of both Elizabethan England and Renaissance Verona. Furthermore, by reminding Prince Aeschylus, Mercutio's relative, that Mercutio and Romeo were friends, Lord Montague might be subtly attempting to persuade Verona's leader to be lenient on Romeo in a sort of nepotistic way. We're now going to jump right to the play's final scene, as this is the next and last place where Lord or Lady Montague prominently appear. Upon entering the Capulet's tomb, a tired Lord Montague announces to Prince Aeschylus, "Alas, my liege, my wife is dead tonight. Grief of my son's exile hath stopped her breath." Now, rather than talk about how these lines present Lord Montague, let's think about how they present Lady Montague instead. Remember that if you are looking at how a certain character is presented, you can look at what other characters say about them and how they react to them, and not just the lines that your specific character says. So, I would argue that these lines reveal just how enormously Lady Montague loves her son. The noun grief makes it clear that Lady Montague was very sad about Romeo being exiled, thus suggesting that she cannot bear the thought of being separated from him. But this sadness has apparently stopped her breath, making her dead tonight. This creates the impression that Lady Montague is so utterly heartbroken by the thought of being separated from her son that she cannot carry on living, thus revealing just how important Romeo is to her. Now, if you're feeling a little bit less sympathetic towards Lady Montague, you could instead say that these lines present her as incredibly dramatic or as emotionally volatile, given how extreme her reaction is. Sure, don't get me wrong, it's rubbish that Romeo was exiled, but this only meant that he was kicked out of Verona, and he could have still lived a happy and fulfilling life elsewhere. And so Lady Montague's ostensibly literal death seems quite over the top. But how is Lord Montague presented at the end of the play? Let's turn our attention to his final lines, which he says in response to Lord Capulet's peace offering. Those lines are, "But I can give thee more, for I will ray her statue in pure gold, that whiles Verona by that name is known, there shall be no figure at such rate be set as that of true and faithful Juliet." So on one hand, these lines see Lord Montague reciprocate Lord Capulet's peace offering. This is because his offer to give Lord Capulet more, a pure gold statue of Juliet that is beyond compare, sees him respect both Lord Capulet's offer and the death of his daughter. Indeed, the positive adjectives true and faithful see him praise the young Capulet, thus suggesting that he is attempting to make peace with the Capulet family. Or does the feud continue, perhaps as some sort of rivalry? When Lord Montague offers to give thee more to Lord Capulet, this phrase could be interpreted as Lord Montague attempting to outdo his Capulet counterpart and be more peaceful, more generous, or more kind. A golden statue is quite a grand gesture, after all. So with that quotation out of the way, that is my analysis of Lord and Lady Montague complete. But don't close the video just yet, because that means that you would miss out on this video's big question. And you wouldn't want that, would you? So then, today's big question is, compared to Lord and Lady Capulet, why do you think Shakespeare had Lord and Lady Montague appear so infrequently in his play? Now, what you do with that question is entirely down to you. You could use it to prompt a mind map or flashcard, stimulate debate with your friends or classmates if you are revising together, or it could even form the basis for an evaluative paragraph. And you know where would be a great place to write that paragraph? That's right, the comments section. I always love seeing the ideas that you lot come up with, and if you're feeling brave enough to share them with me, I'll be sure to respect that by reading them and giving them some quick feedback too. So why not give it a go? And with that question still lingering in your mind, I guess it is time to wrap up this video. Genuinely, I really do hope this video has been helpful and that you feel a bit more confident when it comes to studying or revising Shakespeare's play as a result of watching it. If this video has indeed helped you out, please do let me know by giving it a like, writing a comment on it, sharing it around with anyone else who might benefit from watching it, and of course subscribing to my channel if you haven't already. Thank you so much for watching. Please remember that, as always, I hope that you have an awesome rest of the day. If you are revising, please do take frequent short breaks, as a burned out student is not a happy or successful student, which is what I think you deserve to be. So although Lord and Lady Montague don't actually appear that much in Romeo and Juliet, they offer a really important contrast to Lord and Lady Capulet, showing us what it means to be a kind, loving and supportive mother and father.